It was nearly midnight when the knock came. Daniel almost ignored it. No one ever came to his house that late, especially not on a quiet street outside Portland where the trees whispered louder than people. He stood in the dark hallway for a long moment, listening. The knock came again, softer this time, like the person on the other side was already losing hope. When he opened the door, the cold rushed in first. Then he saw her. She was standing on the porch with a small overnight bag clutched to her chest, her dark hair damp from the rain, her eyes wide and tired. She looked young, too young to be standing alone at midnight. But there was something in her face that didn't match her age. Fear, yes, but also determination. "Daniel?" she asked quietly. He nodded, confused. "Yeah. Can I help you?" "My name is Emily," she said. Her voice shook despite her effort to steady it. "I'm sorry to show up like this. I was told you might let me stay for one night." Daniel frowned. He searched his memory. He remembered her now, barely. She was the daughter of his old college friend, Mark. He had met her once, years ago, when she was still a teenager. She had laughed easily then, her world still simple. This woman looked like someone who had run out of safe places. "Mark's daughter?" he asked. She nodded, relief flooding her face so quickly it scared him. "I didn't know where else to go." He hesitated only a second before stepping aside. "Come in. It's cold out there." The warmth of the house wrapped around her as she crossed the threshold. Daniel closed the door and locked it without thinking. He watched as she stood there awkwardly, water dripping onto the hardwood floor, her shoulders tense like she expected him to change his mind. "You can take the couch," he said. "I'll grab you a towel." "Thank you," she whispered, like the words were heavy. While she dried her hair, Daniel made tea. His mind kept circling the same question. Why was she here? Mark lived in Seattle. Emily had family, friends, a life, people her own age. She was 22 now, he realized. He was 41. The distance between them felt larger than the years alone. They sat across from each other in the living room, the only light coming from a lamp in the corner. Emily wrapped her hands around the mug, staring into the steam like it held answers she wasn't ready to say out loud. "You said one night," Daniel finally said gently. "Is everything okay?" She nodded too quickly. "It will be. I just need time. Just tonight." Daniel leaned back, studying her face. There was a faint bruise near her wrist, yellowing at the edges. He pretended not to notice, but his chest tightened. "You don't have to explain anything," he said. "I mean that." Emily swallowed. Her eyes lifted to his, and for a moment, the room felt smaller. "I know," she said, "but I think I should. Just not yet." Silence settled between them, not awkward, but heavy. The rain tapped against the windows, steady and patient. Daniel realized he hadn't felt this alert in years. This sense that something important had just stepped into his life, uninvited and unavoidable. When he stood to give her a blanket, she reached out suddenly, her fingers brushing his sleeve. "Daniel," she said softly, "thank you for opening the door." He met her gaze, and something unspoken passed between them. He didn't know it yet, but by morning, nothing about his quiet, careful life would be the same. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He lay awake in his bedroom, staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint sounds of the house. Every small noise made him wonder if Emily was still awake too, curled on the couch, staring into the dark with the same restless thoughts. By morning, the rain had stopped. Pale sunlight slipped through the windows, soft and quiet. Daniel moved carefully as he made coffee, not wanting to wake her. But when he turned toward the living room, she was already sitting up, blanket folded neatly beside her, hair tied back like she was preparing for something difficult. "Good morning," she said, forcing a small smile. "Morning," he replied. "Did you sleep at all?" She shook her head. "Not really. But that's okay." They sat at the kitchen table with coffee between them. The daylight revealed things the night had hidden. The bruise on her wrist was clearer now. There were dark circles under her eyes, and a tension in her posture that didn't fade. Daniel took a slow breath. Emily, you don't owe me anything. But if someone hurt you, or if you're in trouble, I need to know. Her hands tightened around the mug. For a long time, she said nothing. Then her shoulders dropped, like she was finally too tired to hold herself together. I left my apartment last night, she said quietly. I didn't plan to. I just grabbed what I could and walked out. Why? Daniel asked, keeping his voice calm. She looked up at him, her eyes shining. Because I finally understood that if I stayed, I was going to disappear. He didn't interrupt. I moved in with my boyfriend a year ago, she continued. At first, he was kind. Everyone loved him. He always knew the right things to say. But slowly, everything I did became wrong. The way I dressed, who I talked to, where I went. He never hit me, not really. But he made sure I felt small, like I needed him to exist. Daniel felt a quiet anger settle in his chest. And last night, he grabbed my wrist when I tried to leave, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He said I wouldn't last without him, that I'd come back. Daniel pushed his chair back slightly, steadying himself. You're not going back, he said firmly. Emily let out a shaky breath, like she'd been waiting for someone to say that. I don't want to, but I don't know what comes next. You can stay here for a few days, Daniel said without hesitation. As long as you need to figure things out. Her eyes widened. I don't want to be a burden. You're not, he replied. You're safe here. Something shifted then. Not just relief, but awareness. Emily noticed it too. The way his voice softened when he spoke to her. The way he looked at her, not as someone fragile, but as someone worth protecting. It scared her more than being alone had. The days that followed were quiet, but charged. They shared meals, small conversations, laughter that surprised them both. Emily began to relax, her smile becoming real again. Daniel found himself looking forward to her footsteps in the hallway, the sound of her humming while she washed dishes. He told himself it was nothing. He was older. He knew better. She needed stability, not confusion. But one evening, as they stood side by side watching the sun dip behind the trees, Emily spoke softly. You're different from him, she said. Daniel turned to her. Different how? You listen, she replied. You don't make me feel like I'm too much. Their eyes met, and this time, neither looked away. The space between them felt charged, fragile. Daniel stepped back first. You've been through a lot, he said carefully. It's easy to mistake comfort for something else. Emily nodded, but her expression said she wasn't convinced. As she walked away, Daniel knew the hardest part wasn't helping her heal. It was pretending he didn't feel the same pull she did. Everything changed the night her phone rang. Emily was sitting on the couch, legs tucked beneath her, when the screen lit up. Daniel saw the color drain from her face before he even heard the vibration stop. She didn't answer it. She just stared at the name, frozen. He found me, she said quietly. Daniel felt his stomach tighten. How do you know? He always knows, she replied. He's been calling all day. I blocked him, but he keeps finding ways. The phone buzzed again. This time, a message appeared. Emily's hands trembled as she locked the screen and set it down like it could burn her. Daniel didn't hesitate. You're not dealing with this alone, he said. We can go to the police. We can call your dad. Whatever you want. She shook her head. I need to do this my way. I needed to know I wasn't wrong for leaving. You weren't, Daniel said firmly. You never were. The words broke something open in her. Emily stood up suddenly, tears spilling over, and before Daniel could think, she stepped into his arms. He stiffened for half a second, then wrapped them around her, holding her like he had been waiting to do it for days. She cried quietly against his chest. Daniel felt every breath she took, every shudder. He knew this moment mattered, and that was exactly why it scared him. When she pulled back, she didn't move far. Their faces were close enough that he could see the faint freckles on her cheeks. This is where it gets complicated, she said softly. Yes, he agreed. I don't want to pretend anymore, Emily said. I don't feel confused. I feel clear. And I feel safe with you. Daniel closed his eyes briefly. He had spent years building a careful life, one without risks. But nothing about this felt careless. I care about you, he said, but I won't be another man who decides what you need. She nodded. Then don't decide. Just be here. The choice settled quietly between them. When Daniel kissed her, it was slow and tentative, like asking a question rather than making a claim. Emily answered it without hesitation, her hand resting over his heart. They didn't rush anything. They talked late into the night, about boundaries, about fear, about what it meant to start something honest. Emily called her father the next morning. It wasn't easy, but it was real. Mark came down that weekend, angry at first, then grateful when he saw his daughter steady again. Emily moved into her own place 2 months later. Daniel helped her carry boxes, assemble furniture, hang pictures. They took things slowly, publicly, carefully. Some people judged. Some questioned the age gap. Daniel expected that. What surprised him was how little it mattered. Emily grew into herself. She went back to school. She laughed louder. She stopped apologizing for existing. And every night, when she chose to come back to Daniel, it was because she wanted to, not because she needed to. One evening, months later, they stood on the same porch where she had first knocked. The air was warm this time. No rain. No fear. I only needed a place to stay for one night, Emily said, smiling. Daniel took her hand. And you ended up finding your way home. She leaned into him, certain now, and so was he. Sometimes love doesn't arrive gently. Sometimes it knocks at midnight and asks you to be brave enough to open the door. When Daniel kissed her, it was slow and tentative, like asking a question rather than making a claim. Emily answered it without hesitation, her hand resting over his heart. They didn't rush anything. They talked late into the night, about boundaries, about fear, about what it meant to start something honest. Emily called her father the next morning. It wasn't easy, but it was real. Mark came down that weekend, angry at first, then grateful when he saw his daughter steady again. Emily moved into her own place 2 months later.